ISO 4217 is a standard published by the International Organization for Standardization, which delineates currency designators, country codes, and references to minor units in three tables: Table A1 a Euro current currency and funds code list, Table A2 a Euro current funds codes, Table A3 a Euro list of codes for historic denominations of currencies and funds. The tables, history and ongoing discussion are maintained by SIX Interbank Clearing on behalf of ISO and the Swiss Association for Standardization. The ISO 4217 code list is used in banking and business globally. In many countries the ISO codes for the more common currencies are so well known publicly that exchange rates published in newspapers or posted in banks use only these to delineate the different currencies, instead of translated currency names or ambiguous currency symbols. ISO 4217 codes are used on airline tickets and international train tickets to remove any ambiguity about the price. Code formation. The first two letters of the code are the two letters of ISO 3166-1 Alpha 2 country codes, and the third is usually the initial of the currency itself. So Japan's currency code is JPY a Euro JP for Japan and Y for Yen. This eliminates the problem caused by the names dollar, franc and pound being used in dozens of different countries, each having significantly differing values. Also, if a currency is revalued, the currency code's last letter is changed to distinguish it from the old currency. In some cases, the third letter is the initial for new in that country's language, to distinguish it from an older currency that was revalued. The code sometimes outlasts the usage of the term new itself. Other changes can be seen, however. The Russian ruble, for example, changed from UR to RUB, where the B comes from the third letter in the word ruble. X currencies. In addition to codes for most active national currencies, ISO 4217 provides codes for supranational currencies, procedural purposes, and several things which are similar to currencies. Codes for precious metals gold, silver, palladium, and platinum are formed by prefixing the element's chemical symbol with the letter X. These currency units are denominated as 1 troy ounce of the specified metal as opposed to $1 or 1 European euro. The code XTS is reserved for use in testing. The code XXX is used to denote a transaction involving no currency. There are also codes specifying certain monetary instruments used in international finance. For example, XDR is the symbol for special drawing right issued by the International Monetary Fund. The codes for most supranational currencies, such as the East Caribbean dollar, the CFP franc, the CFA franc BEAC, and the CFA franc BCEAO begin with an X. The predecessor to the euro, the European currency unit, had the code XEU. The use of an initial letter X for these purposes facilitated by the ISO 3166 rule that no official country code beginning with X will ever be assigned. Because of this rule, ISO 4217 can use X codes without risk of clashing with a future country code. ISO 3166 country codes beginning with X are used for private custom use, never for official codes. For instance, the ISO 3166-based NATO country codes use X codes for imaginary exercise countries ranging from XXB for Brownland to XXF for Reedland, as well as for major commands such as XXE for Shape or XXS for Saklant. Consequently, ISO 4217 can use X codes for non-country specific currencies without risk of clashing with future country codes. The inclusion of EU in the ISO 3166-1 reserved codes list allows the euro to be coded as EUR rather than assigned a code beginning with X even though it is a supranational currency. Treatment of minor currency units. The ISO 4217 standard includes a crude mechanism for expressing the relationship between a major currency unit and its corresponding minor currency unit. This mechanism is called the currency exponent, and assumes a base of 10. For example, USD is equal to 100 of its minor currency unit, the cent. So the USD has exponent 2. The code JPY is given the exponent 0, because its minor unit, the sen, although nominally valued at 100th of a yen, is of such negligible value that it is no longer used. Usually, As with the USD, the minor currency unit has a value that is 1/100th of the major unit, but in some cases 1/1000th is used, and sometimes ratios apply which are not integer powers of 10. Mauritania does not use a decimal division of units, setting 1 Uguayu equals 5 Coombs, and Madagascar has 1 Arari equals 5 Iramalanja. Some currencies do not have any minor currency unit at all, and these are given in exponent of 0, as with currencies whose minor units are unused due to negligible value. Currency numbers. There is also a 3-digit code number assigned to each currency, in the same manner as there is also a 3-digit code number assigned to each country as part of ISO 3166. This numeric code is usually the same as the ISO 3166-1 numeric code. For example, USD has code 840, which is also the numeric code for the US. Position of ISO 4217 code in amounts. The ISO standard does not regulate either the spacing, prefixing or suffixing in usage of currency codes. According however to the European Union's Publication Office, in English, Irish, Latvian and Maltese texts, the ISO 4217 code is to be followed by a fixed space and the amount, a sum of a 30, in Bulgarian, Croatian, Czech, Danish, Dutch, Estonian, Finnish, French, German, Greek, Hungarian, Italian, Lithuanian, Polish, Portuguese, Romanian, Slovak, Slovene, Spanish and Swedish. The order is reversed. The amount is followed by a fixed space and the ISO 4217 code, Une somme de 30 EUR. History. In 1973, the ISO Technical Committee 68 decided to develop codes for the representation of currencies and funds for use in any application of trade, commerce or banking. At the 17th session, the related UNECE group of experts agreed that the 3-letter alphabetic codes for International Standard ISO 4217, codes for the representation of currencies and funds, would be suitable for use in international trade. Over time, new currencies are created and old currencies are discontinued. Frequently, these changes are due to the formation of new governments, treaties between countries standardizing on a shared currency, or evaluation of an existing currency due to excessive inflation. As a result, the list of codes must be updated from time to time. The ISO 4217 Maintenance Agency, SIG's Interbank Clearing, is responsible for maintaining the list of codes. Active codes. The following is a list of active codes of official ISO 4217 currency names. Unified System for Regional Compensation, USD-USN, 3 currency codes belonging to the US. The US dollar has 2 codes assigned, USD and USN. The USS code is not in use any longer, and was removed from the list of active ISO 4217 codes in March 2014. According to UN's Fact Recommendation 9, paragraphs 8 to Euro 9 ECE 203, 1996, available online, 8. In applications where monetary resources associated with a currency need not be specified and where a field identifier indicating currency is used, the first 2 characters are sufficient to identify a currency. A Euro example, US for United States dollars for general, unspecified purposes where a field identifier indicating currency is present. 9. In applications where there is a need to distinguish between different types of currencies, or where funds are required as in the banking environment, or where there is no field identifier, the third character of the alphabetic code is an indicator, preferably mnemonic, derived from the name of the major currency unit or fund. A Euro example, USD for general, unspecified purposes. USN for United States dollar next day funds, and USS for funds which are immediately available for Federal Reserve transfer, withdrawal in cash or transfer in like funds. Since there is no need for such a distinction in international trade applications, the funds codes have not been included in the annex to the present recommendation. Non-ISO 4217 currencies, currencies without ISO 4217 currency codes. A number of currencies are not included in ISO 4217, because these currencies are minor currencies pegged 1:1 to a larger currency, even if independently regulated, a legal tender only issued as commemorative banknotes or coinage, or a currency of an unrecognized or partially recognized state. These currencies include Alderney pound, Cook Islands dollar, Faroese krah kubna, Guernsey pound, Isle of Man pound, Jersey pound, Kiribati dollar, Maltese scudo, Somaliland shilling, Transnistrian ruble, Tfluan dollar. See category, fixed exchange rate for a list of all currently pegged currencies. Unofficial currency codes. The following non-ISO codes are, however, sometimes used commercially. In addition, GBX is sometimes used to denote penny sterling, a subdivision of pound sterling, the currency for the United Kingdom. Historical currency codes. A number of currencies were official ISO 4217 currency codes and currency names until their replacement by the euro or other currencies. The table below shows the ISO currency codes of former currencies and their common names. See also, List of circulating currencies, currency, tables of historical exchange rates, list of international trade topics, SWIFT codes, references. External links. The official list of ISO 4217 alphabetic and numeric codes, ISO 4217 Maintenance Agency, an older list of ISO 4217 alphabetic codes that contains some history of ISO 4217, another list of numeric and alphabetic ISO 4217 currency codes, a C++ library for handling ISO currencies, position of the ISO code or euro sign in amounts, typing a euro symbol on a non-European keyboard. Several methods are shown for the euro, and other special characters.